Welcome to the Reseller Information Network. We are on episode 42. Somewhere along the line, we've missed an episode. Stay tuned for that lost episode somewhere in there. The other day we did 41, but there's no 40. Like it's out there. It's out there in the metaverse, wherever that stuff, but it's out there somewhere. We do welcome you guys to the show. Today we have a special guest with us, Becky Park. She's going to be hanging out with us, talking about, her name says it all, Poshmark, but she also sells on other platforms. So stick around and listen about that. As always, we're dropping some 101 knowledge with our boys Tim over the years, Cernochsconnection, and Blood, Sweat, Sale. Leroy sometimes goes by Frank. You watch our live stream. But Tuesdays, listing and loafing. Come and hang out with us 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern time. Hey, we want to go ahead and jump into a couple comments before we get going to the show. But stick around because you won't want to miss what we have to tell you. First comment, Nate 2790. This is fresh off the press. This is actually from today's live stream. He says, I can't wait to catch one of these live. I love you guys' content. I appreciate all the info. As far as blaming YouTubers for slow sales, I had my first sale on April 15th. Wow, tax. Since then, I've sold over 300 items and I'm now a top rated seller. Just work harder. The sales will come. YouTube doesn't, unless you make money. So thanks, Nate, for dropping that. Vintage Lab Man says, thank you for posting this. I'm in a similar position where I would love to transition out of a corporate America job and into something on my own. This was expiring. That's from the Art of Resell series. Art talking about transition from part-time to full-time and leaving the corporate world behind. But since we have Becky with us today, we definitely want her to go ahead and jump in and tell us a little bit about her, but B, also give a tip for some beginner resale. We'll get to that. Becky, the floor is yours. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, first of all, this is so embarrassing. You can see this up close. I'm so sorry.
Hey, that's why I'm hiding.
I know, but like your guys' stuff behind you looks purposeful and like kind of. This is just straight up is a mess. It's like
yeah, I'll make you feel better about yourself, just real quick.
Look at my bed. Look at my bed right now.
That does make me feel better.
There you go, Becky. There you go.
It's all about hiding it.
I have this like little area. Well, even this is messy here, but it's supposed to look kind of nice with my fake plant stuff. Anyway, hi, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller, and I say part-time. I feel like that line is so blurred because do part-time sellers also only put in part-time hours? I don't know, but I call myself part-time because really where the majority of my income and benefits and all that stuff come from are from my full-time job, which is as a high school choir teacher. And I've kind of been juggling the two since like end of 2017. Started on Poshmark because it was easy, and then slowly transitioned to the harder platforms like eBay and different things. And I'm always down to like try new things. So I have tried out Whatnot. We were talking earlier before we record about like Poshmark Lives. Like I'm going to do my first one this week. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of try all the things. I have a YouTube channel about kind of that journey of being part-time and reselling and attempting to do all of the things. So yeah.
So if you could share one tip to people just beginning in their reselling journey, like what's something that you would just say, hey, if I could do it over again, I wish I would have done this.
Okay, can I share two?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think my main tip that I tell everyone is just start with what's in your house. I think people get really excited about, they see all these videos and they're like, oh my gosh, I could do that. And some people will bring all this stuff into their home and they realize they don't even like it. They don't even like reselling, but now you're stuck with all this crap. And so I think the first step really is to start with what's in your house. And also because in doing so, you learn the art of reselling without putting any money in. And instead you get to start off with a profit. So I think it's just the best way to begin. Make sure you like it, learn how to do it correctly. And then you can start putting some of that money into actually acquiring inventory. Secondly, I would say start figuring out a system as far as like inventory, as far as like bookkeeping, start from the beginning because it's really easy to scale and grow, but it's hard to it's hard to backtrack and be like, oh my God, where is that thing that I had bought 8 years ago? Or where, whatever. So if you can figure out how to stay organized from the beginning and create systems, that, you can tweak as you grow, but if you don't have anything in place, it just makes every part of your business that much more of a nightmare. It makes shipping so hard when you're trying to find things, when you have to do your taxes. It's just awful. So create systems right at the beginning.
Yeah, that's great advice for sure. That's something that I definitely wish that I would have created systems instead of just creating piles.
I'm still wishing that.
Of course, we always tell people the number one tip is tell a friend to watch the RIN. But
obviously, aside from that, right? Tips, yes.
You can also watch Becky's journey. It's crazy. Like, I know Tim was talking earlier about how he's known you for a little while. I got the privilege of meeting Becky at FlipCon and listening to her speak on one of the panels and just having some conversations with her after. And it's definitely knowing your journey a little bit. I think that's one of the things that people forget is, you see people on YouTube, you don't really know what's going on in their situation, their life. And, I've watched from way back. I used to do a show with Sam Dapper Tiger. I guess he'd had some conversations with you back then. And we ended our show because Sam's like, I want to get Becky on. I was like, well, ask her. And then we ended our show. So we didn't have this is actually a long time coming. But, yeah, anyway, we are appreciative.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. The next subject we want to talk with you a little bit about is what do you see trending in the market? Maybe you can share that a little.
You guys have the best little bumpers before everything. I love it.
Well, the 101 was perfect because, you're a teacher. So I was like, then I saw the blackboard come up in the chalk.
Yes.
I'm like, right, this worked perfect.
It worked out perfectly. Okay, so what do I see trending? I have already started seeing an uptick in boots, winter, even winter boots, which is crazy because right now it's I think our heat index hit 110 degrees or something. I don't know why people are thinking about snow boots and stuff like that, but literally just sold a pair of snow boots today. Just boots in general, any outdoor, even hiking type situations, those are selling really fast. I've kind of noticed an uptick in shoes in general, and then also in jeans. So I just feel in general, it's a lot of fall and winter apparel. My summer stuff is just kind of collecting dust at this. I'd say that's what I'm noticing.
Cernoch, she's speaking your language right now.
Oh yeah.
Cernoch's a big boot guy.
Becky, I've been listing jackets already. And
yes,
jackets are selling.
That's what I'm saying.
I sold 3 jackets just today.
Mm-hmm.
We're just all right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, my first Poshmark live I'm gonna do in a couple of days, and I think I titled the show Fall Vibes or something. It's just all sweaters, jackets, boots, that sort of thing, because that's what people are excited about buying. Even though it may still be very warm in most parts of the country, people are kind of sick of their summer attire and they're looking forward to yes.
Let's pick these up today.
Those look really nice.
Coach.
Oh dang!
I know, right? So yeah, boot. Oh yeah. I'm getting all my boots lined up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting jackets lined up, sweaters. I think it's right now.
Yes.
I kind of talked to it a lot, and your segue is perfect. It's fall is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Q4 is right in the palm of our hand. So it's why not just start slaying all that? Listing. Slay that big winter death pile.
Yeah.
And get it done. Yeah, I totally agree.
And I prefer it too because I feel and I know this is kind of boring if you don't do clothes, but I just feel fall and winter clothes sell for more than summer and spring clothes too. Yes. So it is really exciting to list jackets and boots because you're yes, this is gonna go for so much more than the tank tops and little things, little shorts that I was selling just a couple months ago. So it's really exciting for that reason too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I actually picked up. I don't do women's clothes usually at all unless it's just dirt cheap, right? Unless I just I trip over something. But today I was showing this to Cernoch, so maybe say what?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Y2K.
It's vintage soda.
Awesome.
I was I don't usually do women's, but when you see something super weird, for me, that's a pickup. Just weird looking. we'll
See,
see.
if I pick up women's, it doesn't usually get listed up in my wife's closet.
Oh, you just got to pick up something that ain't her size, right?
Yeah.
She's like, what size?
Yeah.
But that means you got good taste if
Yeah.
she's, picking from your pile.
Well, listen, if I have her with me, it's like she can slay with whenever she gets an opportunity to go out, pick really good. It's mostly brands. I think it is a lot of it's important because she might know a lot more brands than what I know. I probably know more commercial brands, and I know style. Like I could tell like this style, but like she will know like those sleeper brands that like I would have never even heard of. It's like it's not like something that is but like it has ton value and potential. So I think that's a super important odd when you're dealing in women's clothes because I feel like it's a tough competitive market in a sense. I'd imagine as far as reselling goes that there's probably more niche women's clothes reselling than I think niche men's clothes because because I feel like with men's clothes, even with like vintage shirts and vintage hats, right? That's super unisex, like that avenue. Like you can't, like I always bothers me because I want to list a shirt and I go to Poshmark and it's like they're making me choose between men's and women's.
Yeah.
So I always put unisex in one of my tags when I'm posting on Poshmark.
Oh, that's smart.
Because I feel like because if I know women, we've done the Vintage Expo before, Cernoch and I, and it's women are shopping the t-shirt racks just as much as men are. So like I hate to have to put those things into categories, but like if you're talking about like specific men's clothing, like say for example like men's suit or tie, like that's probably not as many people that are doing that as people that are selling dress, or skirt stuff like that. It's quite interesting the diff to sort of category.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And I mean, I only advise this if you are super, super, super organized. But like, I know some people, if they have something like that where it could go either way, it could be a men's piece or a women's piece. They'll list it twice, and they'll list it once as a men's piece, and they'll list it once as a women's piece on Poshmark. Because, like you said, they don't let you choose unisex, but you have to be so organized because if one of them does sell, you have to remember to get rid of that other listing. Like I do, sometimes I'll do that for Converse because Converse will have like the men's size and the women's size on the tongue. And I'm like, I don't know who wants this, a man or a woman, and I don't want to lose out on a potential sale because,
That's interesting. Cernoch, Cernoch will do that with small with like kids shoes, right?
Size shoes.
Oh yeah.
I'll turn it. I'll like a size 6Y Nike. I'll turn into a size 7.5 or 7.5 women's. And it works out. I've sold a bunch of shoes like that.
Yeah.
On Poshmark and eBay by converting it to a women's size rather than a kid's size.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly. But it can kick you in the butt too if you don't, keep everything straight.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to go ahead and get into some more Q&A because obviously this opens up a whole lot of questions.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll all ask questions, then we'll let Tim hit you with about 20 in a row. That's just
I'm ready.
All right, let's jump in. So we're going to deep dive more into Becky's reseller journey and some of the stuff that she does. So Becky, all women's clothes, is that what your main thing is, or are you?
No, I actually really do enjoy men's clothes too. And I enjoy men buyers a lot. I think they're a lot less finicky than the women.
I have a question about that in a second.
Okay. Yeah, and I've done kids stuff. Obviously, like the majority of the kids stuff doesn't have as great of a return, so it's not as worth it. Nowadays, I just take most of that stuff to like local kids consignment stores. But yeah, I do it all. I do hard goods. It's not my favorite. It just takes me so long to list because I don't know what I'm doing, and like finding all the information that I need to find is hard. But like last week, I sold a toy for $127, and and I was like, oh, I guess I should do this more.
Yeah, I know.
It sold so fast, but I was like, but I hate it so much. So I don't know. It's kind of like what you were saying, Eric, about like women's clothes.
Yeah, we all. It's funny here. So myself, I sell pretty much anything that ain't nailed down. That's how my world works. I do know a little bit thanks to people I hang out with about like I like hats. It's something I like. Thanks to the Godfather, put me on that game, Cernoch, and Tim coming in there right behind him. But there's other things now that Leroy's got me looking for industrial parts and tools and all kinds of stuff that I would have never even
do it.
but I'm telling you, there's money everywhere. It's just
There
laying
is.
out like in the street. But so I know there's always proponents where people are like, okay, the more you niche down, the more you know about a particular item. But I don't know how it is where you're at, but a lot of the people that we come in contact with are always talking about, like, we can't find that. Like, like if I want to do just strictly this, then it's harder to find.
Yeah.
Do you deal with that at all? And like, what would be some things that you would say, hey, maybe try this?
Yeah, I do. And, there are a lot of people who sell things similar to me, women's clothing primarily, who look at my business model and they're like, you are horrible at this. Like, why do you sell the way that you do? And I'm like, I sell the way that I do because of what I have access to, kind of like what you were saying. Right. If I lived in LA or if I lived in Houston or some big metropolitan area and it was just like bougie women all around me and I could find, some of the things that other people are finding, that would be amazing. And everyone's like, well, you can source online, you can buy low on Poshmark and sell it. And I'm like, I could, but that's a lot of time too, just kind of sit there surfing the web and all those kinds of things. So for me, I'm perfectly content selling what I find and like knowing my area really well and knowing kind of like what I'm going to find pretty often and then kind of cherry picking, what is the best of those things and trying to stay educated as much as possible to what's trending and what the newest cool brand is so that if it does pop up in my area, I can, identify it for what it is and then purchase it to sell. But yeah, for me, it's like kind of like what you were saying. I am willing to sell anything and everything if it'll make me money. I don't need to personally vibe with it. Like there's some clothing resellers out there too that are like, if it doesn't bring you joy, what brings me joy is making money. And I don't need to think that something is cute in order for me to make money off of it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Like, that's just not for me, but also because I don't care if it's really ugly, I'll still list it. And I guess there are people out there who like, if it's that ugly, like they can't put themselves through the process of listing it. I don't know what it is. I'm fine with it. Like, that's fine that it's ugly. If it'll make me money, like I'll sell it, I'll list it, so.
Yeah. It's like me. I wouldn't get caught dead in a pair of Rock Revival jeans.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they're not.
I sell them like crazy.
Like,
I just picked up a pair today at my little spot. Wait, over here. A little spot right here. Picked up a pair today.
Yes.
Sit on the rack, $20. I'll turn that to $120. They're ugly. I'd never wear them, but I will. I have no problem selling them.
Mm-hmm. And where are you located?
I'm in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia.
Okay.
So he had to throw that Eastern Panhandle in there, so just to make sure you know.
Listen, you didn't want you to hear any of the banjo music in the background.
Becky, it's because real West Virginians don't consider us real West Virginians. They're like, oh, y'all are Marylanders or Virginia people. Y'all are way out there. No one cares about you guys way out there. So yeah.
My problem is I do think my stuff's good, and it's just metal. My stuff is adorable. I think it's so beautiful. Who want to think a wrench is beautiful? I mean, come on.
Well,
all of us had crushes on Dorothy when we were kids, but Leroy was thinking Tin Man. He was like, man, that metal, dude.
That hammer is just so beautiful.
Oh my
I can't wait to wear this around my waist in my tool belt.
But the problem is these guys have picked with me, and that really is what makes me happy.
Yeah. And to some degree, I think it makes sense to go after those things because you are excited about sourcing them. And I get that. Like, I went sourcing the other day. I went to an estate sale and got stuff home that I was super excited about. And I think I photographed those things that day, like got some of it listed the next day. And that never happens, Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I know myself well enough to know that if it's in my house, it will get listed. Like, I'm not going to sit there with a pile of stuff and be like, I don't really like any of it, so I'm just not going to list today. Like, I'm just not that person. And so It's okay for me to have stuff that, it's okay for me to have the rock revivals and that sort of thing. because I know how to list it. I can do it quickly. It doesn't matter that I don't like it.
Yeah.
See, I think this is everything that you're saying so far is perfect that are watchable. I think it's all very, very important. Like, we're laughing and stuff like that, right? But it's super important, this sort of information for people who are, either, trying to learn more, trying to do things a little bit differently, or just getting started, because it's crazy to think about, like you said, it's just like, I'm not create a pile of and then not list it. I think being able to source things that you like are super important. It encourages you to get the ball moving, which is what a lot of what we do is about. It's about getting the ball moving, being inspired to actually do the tedious stuff. It's all fun and games when you're out with the buddies, and we're going down 100-mile stretch of yard sales, and then we're packing the car and we're like, yes. And you get home and you're dragging in 7 IKEA bags of stuff into your house, and everybody that lives at your house, oh God, here we go.
Okay, I take offense to the I do make death piles. I'm like,
and at the end of the episode, I think we're gonna have to take Becky downstairs to the basement, and you're gonna.
Oh my God, I want to see it.
Oh
that
yeah,
sounds amazing.
Your mind is gonna be blown, sir. Because listen, you're gonna love this, because Cernoch has. I mean, he's amazing. So
but see, now Becky, you said something like, what did you say? You don't have to be in love with it. I find though a lot of clothing sellers or people that have a hard time, and I don't want to come off like derogatory or anything like that, but people that have a hard time selling clothes, I feel like they just don't have that eye for style. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like they don't get excited because, like, I love fashion. I love the new trends and all this stuff, and I keep up with it to where I think other people are just like, Now I'm a simple dress person. I'll throw on short sandals and a t-shirt and a trucker hat all day, but I can see certain things out in the wild that I'm like, yo, that is something that's something interesting. I'm gonna pick that up, even though I would never wear it, or if it's a woman's item, I have that. I feel like you have to have that sense of just like that eye of style. I don't know. That's how I figure it, because I know people all day, they'll be like, oh, I'll never sell clothing. It's like, well, because you're not excited about it, and you don't maybe not have that certain like lens where you're looking through and go, I can see these sweet pair of boots on a woman that would love these vintage boots, and I could probably sell these for $100.
Yeah,
if not. So that's how I judge like clothing reseller, as myself.
I think you bring up a fair point. Like, I think there are many people, and this is why, my number one tip for people is to start with what's in your house. I think there are people who get overwhelmed. They get really excited about, oh, it's a bag sale or everything's $1, and they just throw a bunch of stuff in their cart, not knowing if there's value in it or not. And they get it home, and when they do start doing the work of looking up comps and stuff, they're like, this is barely worth $5, or and then it is very overwhelming because they have basically a pile of junk that you could make some money off of it still, because there is a buyer out there for everything, but it is even less exciting because now that there's so little value. I think that's fair, to say if you're gonna like dive into something, you have to make sure that even if you're not excited about it, you at least have to know that the value is there. And so for me, I've got piles, but I know that the things in those piles are worth something.
Yeah.
And like you said, rock revival, not your thing, but that there's money in those little blinged out back pockets. And I'll go ahead and list this monstrosity because it's going to make me money. But I think that's true. That's like the biggest thing that happens to newer resellers, I feel like, is they just get so excited. They source a lot of crap, and then they're just like stuck in this, hole of regret. Yeah.
Well, I know Cernochs taught me like about the whole with clothes. So like automatically, if you see brand and you've heard somebody that bought something of that particular brand and they sold it for a ton of money, like you see people do that all the time. Like for me, Nike, like if you say Nike, like there is, Payless shoe Nike, and then there's high-end shoe Nike. Yeah. And if you are picking up used Payless shoe Nike, like, and you're, hey, I got a great deal. I paid $5. Well, that's about what you're going to get. Yeah. Like, I mean, and the heels wore off and the, like all that kind of stuff. So, so like, one of the things I've always told people is, for me, when I first started, I was in the thrifts like 4 or 5 days a week. And now I never go to the thrifts, hardly ever. Like here, just you can't find stuff for a reason, or you'll spend all day trying to find it. But one of the good things that I learned in the thrifts is because I've got the time, I can look things up and I can begin to figure things out. Like, what is a way that you did that when you first started, as far as like, okay, so what is worth the pickup and what isn't?
So like we don't have a bins near us. And so we used to go to the Indianapolis bins. It's like a 2-hour drive. My husband would go with me. My husband is not really into reselling at all. But the one thing that he will do is sometimes go sourcing with me. But even that he maxes out at about 2 hours. But we would like go to the bins, and on the way, what I would do is I would open up my Poshmark app and I would look at what had sold previously. I would just search a category, like maybe sweaters, and I would filter by sold, and I would filter by price. So I would just look at things that sold between that $50 to like $200 range. I didn't really want to look at anything over 200 because I knew I probably wouldn't find anything. Like it was not going to be a good ROI on my time. But I was like, things that sell for 50 to 200, like that's pretty good. You know, if I can like figure out those brands, those styles. And I would like say them out loud to my husband. I'm like, okay, this is what we're looking for. And I'm like, and if you find this, like, this is what it's going to look like. This is what they're known for. And I think that helped just kind of studying what has sold recently for the amount that I'm looking for. And then I think just kind of keeping up on trends, like looking through fashion magazines, things like that. But really what translates the most is what are people forking over the money for, you know? And recently. So I think that's been helpful. And I think the same thing that you were sharing, being at the thrift, just kind of looking at stuff. And when you see something interesting, when you see a label, a brand that looks nicer than like Old Navy or something, you can kind of tell even the way that labels are put on clothes, looking those things up and seeing if there's value in those brands. I think those are helpful ways to learn.
So now are you still primarily doing bins, like that kind of stuff? Or I mean, I saw the other day on your Instagram like that you were hitting up the estate sale. Like,
so I don't do a whole lot of estate sales and garage sales, mainly because I feel like especially the garage sales in my area are so bad. Like I don't know, they're pretty atrocious. And sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, what if people who sell hard goods and like do garage sale type videos, like if they were to come, would they find treasures that I'm just not seeing? Like, I'm just really bad at this, but I genuinely just feel like you probably would. You probably I don't know. I walk around at these things and I'm like, how do people make a living off of garage?
All right, road trip boys. Like we're gonna
come to Champaign.
You see that?
I don't know. And sometimes
we joke about doing this show alone. Like, have you ever seen the show Alone, where they drop people off in the woods? Like, you got to live it out. We said, man, I think if you drop the 4 of us out in Nowhereville, USA, we're gonna find something. Like that's just what we do.
Please come and prove me wrong. Like I've found things here and there, but usually I'm just like, this was a huge waste of my time. And I try to look at the hard goods and stuff, but no, I feel like actually in the last like year or two, I've done a lot of buyouts from resellers who are just done, you know. They'll reach out to me and they'll be like, I can't, do you want my stuff? And even like, and you know, I try to do kind of a quality check. They'll send me like a link to their closet, or I'll ask them to whatever. And it usually works out pretty okay. Like there's enough meat on the bone that I'm like, okay, I can do this. And a lot of it does go to, you know, like Plato's Closet or something like that. Or there's like a pop-up consignment sale that happens in my area twice a year. A lot of it goes to stuff like that. A lot of it gets donated, but there's enough stuff that the cost per, you know, item, it makes sense and it works out. And then it saves me a ton of time because they're sending me like 200-300 items at once. So I've done a lot of those. I feel like I've not gone to like my local thrift stores that much recently either because of pricing. Where I think I get the majority of my inventory is at consignment stores, because I only have like 2 or 3 in the area, but they have much higher quality pieces than my thrift stores. There's not as much garbage to pick through, and they have crazy sales because, you know, they have to keep moving inventory out. And when it hits, you know, a certain number of months that these things have been in their stores, they'll go down to like $3. They have like $3 tag sales. Sometimes it's $1. And a lot of times it's still really good stuff. And then one of my favorite stores, they do a birthday sale, and a bag, like a little shopping bag, is $30 for the bag. So I'll fill like a bajillion bags and have inventory for the next like 2-3 months. That's where I've been finding the majority of my stuff.
Yeah.
Leroy, you got anything?
All right. I have a question. So
Yes.
So when I did research on my okay, and I do eBay, Poshmark, and Grailed, and Macari. My son took over my Depop. I may take it back because he really didn't do anything with it because he got busy during the summer. He was talking about like I'm gonna list like 200 items on your Depop and make all this money. And then he was like, "Oh, I got band practice every single day. I've got wrestling practice. Like, I can't do anything, Dad. I can't even be at your house." I'm like, "Okay." So I'll probably take that over. But just on eBay, I did a little research on eBay, and I found that 65% of my return items were women's items, and I only have around 15% of women's items in my store.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not trying to be sexist or anything like that, but when I see like a women's pair of shoes, I'm always like, oh, you know, like it almost has to be like pristine for me to pick them up, or a little bit of work on them to list them, because I feel that, especially like shoes, okay, that you don't get the price that you get for men's shoes, and the returns are way higher. How do you deal with that? Do you see that on your end? Do you see a lot of and maybe talk about your return policy and all that stuff? Because I do see a large influx of returns coming from women items. So it's kind of thrown me back where it's like, should I be picking up this many items, or should I be just like not throwing them on eBay and just throwing them on Poshmark, or just list them anyway, and just, if I get a return, just suck it up and be a big boy and take it, you know what I'm saying? And then relist it and sell it again and be fine with it, So I just want like a little info from you if you see that.
I mean, the latter is probably the correct answer. You got to be a big boy. But yeah, I mean, I think women are just different when shopping. And a lot of it is like America's fault in that, like, the sizing is not consistent across brand to brand. And so part of it really is women will purchase more. And I mean, men too, it's not consistent for men either, but someone will purchase something, it's their size, but then they get it and it doesn't fit them. And I have like a really weird body. Like, I'm really short. My legs are so short. Like, everything about my body just makes it so hard to find clothes. And so I don't buy clothes on eBay, I hardly buy clothes online. I have to try it on. And I don't want to be that person that pisses off the buyer because I'm like, sorry, like, you, and it just doesn't fit the way they want. And I don't know if you've gone even deeper into a dive as to, okay, that 65% of stuff that's been returned or whatever, like, why, and I'm going to bet that the majority of it is because of fit.
It's sizing or didn't like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, or didn't like. And a lot of times when they say didn't like, that also is code for like, it just didn't fit the way that they wanted it to. And so I think as a woman, and as a woman who has a weird body to buy clothes for, like, I don't take it personally, obviously, because it's not like I made the clothes in my sweatshop or anything, but it's like, I don't take it personally, but I also just chalk it up as like, this is just what's going to happen in that territory of selling clothes, So, but yeah, on eBay, my return policy is I allow returns because otherwise eBay will force it. And I get it. Like, I don't want to be stuck with something that doesn't fit me, and I want to have that freedom to return it if need be. And that's why I think a lot of people who come over from Poshmark to eBay, that's the hardest pill for them to swallow, because Poshmark really doesn't allow for returns because of things like size, or I just didn't like it. They're like, you got to suck it up. Like, you should ask more questions, whatever. And eBay is so not that way. eBay is like, you got to give them their money back. You got to let them return it. And that's where Poshmark sellers, I think, struggle the most.
And I find myself on Poshmark where if I get an offer on a women's item, I'm like,
You know
what I'm saying? Where it's like, I know that it's not, I didn't like it or didn't fit. I know it's not coming back for that reason. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take, say I have something for $85 and a $50 offer comes in, I'm like, nah, don't have to deal with the return. Yeah, I'll take it. You know, so it's kind of like that way too. But yeah, I was just seeing like if you felt the same, you know, saw the same things because in the end, we're all it's a business to us. So we are just going, okay, you know what? I can't cry over a return. I can't get mad over a return. I'm just gonna relist it and just move on, you know. And that's kind of like my strategy. I was just seeing if you saw a lot more return, you know, versus like, you know.
Yeah, and I don't have anything to compare it to, right? Like I'm sure if I sat down with you and we looked at our numbers, you'd be like, "Oh, you get way more returns than I do," you know, like percentage wise, and I probably do. And so I try not to take it personally, but I mean, maybe like a month or two ago, I should have just known not to go through with the sale, but I had this Gucci bag for sale and someone reached out. They had a bajillion questions. Okay. So, but you know, she had a bajillion questions. I answered them all to her satisfaction. She went ahead and purchased it. Of course, she opened a return because it was just too big, I think is what she said. And I'm like, girl, the measurements are all there. Like I have like the tape, like you could have sat there. And I literally did this. I bought a bag on Poshmark and it was a bag that I'm not accustomed to paying that much for it. But I like literally took the measurements. I like drew it out on a piece of paper, cut it out, and like walked along with it. I was like, is this what I want? Because I'm not going to be able to return this, you know? But like you have all the information you need. Why are you asking me if you can return this? But
when they start hitting those multiple questions, I'm like,
I know. I should have.
I just had a set of books sell, but earlier today I had this person asking me, can I see the publisher page, the back cover, this or that? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it when I get home. When I got home, cha-ching, someone else bought it. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know for me with clothing, sometimes on Whatnot, I tell people, like, just be honest with yourself before you buy this. Like, like be honest with yourself. Because we all tend to be like, oh, yeah, I'm only this size. You know better. Like,
I can still fit in a large,
right?
No.
Just be honest with yourself. That's all.
That's very
You want to
true.
put it in your listing. Just be honest with yourself before you buy it.
My problem is the guy just doesn't have a hard time. He never tells me. He doesn't say he has a problem with a wrench. I don't put any returns on a wrench. It's a wrench. It's a wrench. Another thing, it says number 17 on one side.
Yeah, but is it a left-handed or right-handed wrench?
Yes, it's a wrench.
Well,
the wrench is ambidextrous.
Yeah. With returns though too, Becky, do you see that more of your smaller dollar items get returned versus some of your bigger? I see more like if I sold something for like $15 to $20, that almost has a better return. Like it's gonna have a way better return rate than something I sell for $200. I don't know. It just seems that way.
I should do a deep dive on that. I feel like it's. I don't think I see that as much, but I think maybe it's because I just feel it more when it's a higher dollar amount. So it like impacts me more and like it stays with me longer, you know, whereas the smaller ones, maybe they just kind of, you know, it's in and out. Yeah. It's that Gucci bag. Like that one really hurt. That was like 400. I don't remember. It was a lot. And then I had a dress that was like 85. So I feel like it's the bigger ones that leave kind of that lasting impression on me. But you're probably right. I just don't remember the smaller.
No, don't worry. I went through a three return, an item that got returned 3 times with 3 different buyers in a month period. It was a $300 North Face jacket.
Oh my God.
North Face jacket got returned 3 times. And every time it was like, oh.
I know. It's brutal. It is the worst.
But then you'll sell something for $2,000 and they don't even leave you a comment back. You never hear from them.
Nope.
You selling a wrench for $2,000?
Oh, I was really referencing Cernochs t-shirt.
I saw an old Harley t-shirt for $2,000.
That's amazing.
And then somebody saw the shirt in a museum.
Well, yeah, they saw another shirt just like it in a museum in North Carolina.
In worse condition than what's
yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So
that's cool.
All right, so when you're going into the thrifts or the consignment stores, where are you going first? What's your like? What is your like? I want to hit this first to get the to get the scoop on people, or to like this is my favorite spot to go. And then where do you travel?
So I like sprint to the shoes. That's first because I think your return on shoes is usually highest. Bags in my area are garbage, so I don't look at bags. They're either fake or they're just garbage. So I go shoes, jeans, like jackets, outerwear type of stuff. And then if I have to, I'll look at shirts. But I feel like shirts, it's usually, not very much return.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, I feel like for me, I feel like there's so much a bigger return on a jacket than a polo shirt or a t-shirt. Like now I'm saying now if you find some crazy vintage Ozzy Osbourne 1984 vintage shirt, of course,
yes,
but we ain't running into those, So,
and there's so much more to go through to find those too, because usually in the shoes, it's that.
Well, with the jacket, you can kind of see the shoulder and be like, yo, what is that pattern, or what is that, or even touch too. Like, a lot of clothing resellers, I feel like have that touch where you can, if you were blindfolded and went down the aisle, you might stop and go, all right, what is this? And then, you just picked out, something really good. So it's all, it's a lot of touch for me too.
It is, yeah.
I really think that Cernoch and Becky would wear out. It could be like,
we kill it.
I hope that we're gonna be able to show her the basement, because I am so excited. Yeah,
we will.
At the end, we'll show you. We'll show you.
Now that, I'm just imagining. I really want to see something.
It's the cavern. The cavern of vintage.
I'm afraid Becky's gonna be like, yo, she's gonna calculate. She's like, yeah, that's only like 4, 5, 6 hours away. I'm hopping in the car and
I'm shopping over there.
Yeah. Like, can I shop?
He does have open shopping going on.
I have a few wholesalers that'll come by every once in a while and buy stuff. So
it's awesome.
So are you like, obviously vintage is in, so what is it like as far as female clothes, like vintage wise? I mean, I know my daughters are in their 20s, so they're always like, now I see them wearing stuff like when I was in high school all the time. But like, what is like, I know for us, we're always looking for vintage tees, we're looking for vintage hats. Like, what's one of the big things with you that you're looking?
So I feel like I don't look for it. Like, I'm not actively like, okay, let me try to find some vintage, just because I think that I would come out with hardly anything. There's just not a lot. That being said, when I do come across, I mean, even those like soda shoes that you just showed, like anything that I was wearing when I was in high school, late middle school. And that has been a hard shift for me, in that I feel like the earlier years of reselling, it really was all about like brand. And then if under that brand, the item that you had, the style was desirable, then that's awesome. But I'm seeing people sell brands that were like garbage when I was in high school and middle school, but the style is there and it's going for like 67, and I'm like, what? So it's like very hard for me to wrap my head around, but I'm trying to like get better at it. And I feel like Depop is such a great place to study for those kinds of things, like more so the trend, like you're spending money for the trend and kind of ignoring what it says on the label. And that is kind of hard, but I've kind of noticed like the kinds of t-shirts, like the little styles of like little tanks with like the lettuce hem and like it's not really a V-neck, but it's kind of, that kind of stuff has been doing well. And even like little tanks will go for so much. Shoes, vintage shoes have been huge, just like the big platforms or, things like that. But I feel like I don't find it very much. I also don't find a lot of cool vintage t-shirts like what you guys were talking about, but basically what I wore when I was young.
What about like, so for me, my thing is I do a lot of women's vintage accessories. Is that something that you dabble in it also? Like when I say like, I mean like, so pocketbooks, like clutches, sunglasses, brooches, hat pins, scarves. Yeah, Cernoch. I was with Cernoch when he picked up that bag right there.
Wow.
So like stuff like that, and then like very 1930s, hats, like the kind of like sit to the side sort of hats, like that sort of stuff. I find that market is evolving. Like even like compacts, like I love like Art Deco compacts, pill boxes, stuff like that. Like those sort of women's accessories from like, anywhere from the 1920s, so we can go Art Deco all the way up to like mid-century, that sort of time period. Is that something that you have sold before or that intrigues you at all as far as, vintage women's accessories?
So Tim, where are you located?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Okay. So, it's funny because I feel like there's one reseller who I watch. She lives all the way in Oregon. And she was saying like she will go out to the East Coast to source sometimes and thrift. And when she does, she finds things that are more antique because the East Coast is older. You know what I mean? Like that's where the first pilgrims came and stuff. So when you're talking about stuff from like the 1930s and stuff, I don't even know that I can't even count how many times I've seen anything like that in person. I think I could do it on one hand. Like it's just like not common here, and if I saw it, I feel like the majority of that stuff is it's not authentically from that time period.
Yeah.
It's just like replica.
It's made to look old.
Yes, like it's like costume type stuff, but it's not actually that old. So I don't have a lot of experience with it. I think it would be so cool. I think I've probably sold stuff like that maybe like a handful of times because I'm not coming into contact with it very often. I also think I'd be so scared, kind of like, Leroy and your tools and stuff. It's like, I'll look at stuff and I'll be like, I'm pretty sure this has value. But if I get it, like, I'm just going to look at it for like 30 minutes and just ask myself, like, where do I even get started? And I'll get to it. I'll get around to it. It's just going to take me so much longer than if I turn my attention to like, okay, there's a bunch of jeans there. Like, I know how to list those. I'll do it faster, even if I'm not making as much on them. So yeah, I don't have as much experience with it. I'd love to learn, but I'm not finding a lot of that stuff. But
so you said list, guys. So I want to ask you a couple questions about your listing. Okay. So
yeah, get ready. Rapid fire.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, do you put your measurements in your description or your measurements in the picture person?
I'm measurements in the picture type person.
Okay. Okay. Are you using photo room?
I am.
Are you using artificial intelligent backgrounds on photo room?
Not yet, but I saw the kind of magic that Eric is doing with it. So I want to try.
Cernoch, do you have some boots lined up to show her since we were talking about boots earlier? Because I feel like you should see this because if you're getting ready to sell boots, we got some things to show you as far as boots go.
I'll get it set up real quick.
And for those of you that don't know, you can go to photoroom.com and you can use code RIN to get 10% off using that code. And if you ever have any questions, you need to learn more about how to use the AI backgrounds in Photo Room, please feel free to drop any of us a message or drop in on our Tuesday lives. We'll be more than happy to show you. And Cernoch's going to show you guys some of his latest boot work here.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we've been finding that the AI backgrounds have been helpful in generating sales more so than plain white background.
Yeah, that's what Eric was telling me at FlipCon, which is crazy because, all this time eBay has been touting like white backgrounds, so much so that they have a tool that kind of stinks, but, within their listing process that you can put one in there. But those are really cool. And he was saying that the views are so high on the AI background listing, so that's awesome.
Yeah, so definitely something to play around with when you get a chance. A lot of fun. So I have a couple of quick things. I know we're gonna run through these really fast. So first and foremost, I want to say that I actually was watching back many moons ago on YouTube, and I thought that because I'm sure that this is a hot topic for more so back in the day than it is now, but there's always was like a lot of drama with Poshmark people, Poshmark sellers in general. But I always felt like you were more relatable to the general reseller as opposed to just the Poshmark reseller. So how did you get into, because you have a very successful YouTube channel. I mean, we haven't talked about it really much at all, but how did you get into doing YouTube? And did you have like a background in doing, videos and stuff like that? And how do you maintain that YouTube while reselling and being a teacher at the same time, as well as you do? Because you do a really good job with your YouTube.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I wanted to start my channel because when I started reselling, I was watching a lot of content on YouTube, but it was like 99% people who were reselling full time. And it was cool and I was learning a lot. It wasn't super relatable. I was like, okay, so you just spend all day doing this stuff. Like, what can you do if you have 1 hour a day, and that was the story that I was more interested in. And then also I felt like there weren't a lot of people of color on YouTube talking about reselling. There were a couple, but there weren't a lot. And so I just thought it would be interesting. And then because I have a teaching background, I was like, well, I feel like I would be decent at explaining how to do things because this is what I do for a living. And if I'm not decent at it, then I should probably quit teaching and do something else because that's a shame, But so I started my channel primarily for those reasons, just wanting to kind of show a different perspective of reselling, what happens if you don't have that much time to put into it. Also, this is so embarrassing, but my laptop is about to die. So I'm going to try to move and at the same time. And where I am, I don't have
outlet.
Because I'm in my gross basement and this side of the basement doesn't have an outlet. Okay. I'm going to see if this charger over here works. I feel like it doesn't. And if not, I might have to step away for a second. I thought I had
the walkthrough.
I know. Here's my bin.
Look at her bins are all organized.
Okay, I'm gonna see.
She's not quite on Ginger Marvin level, but
no. But I love their banker boxes. I don't think I could do it. Okay, I'm so sorry. Do you think I can step away and grab my charger really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk amongst yourselves.
We'll take a commercial break to talk about.
You can look at my lovely bins. I'll be right back. Okay.
This quick commercial break.
We'll take a quick commercial break to thank our channel members.
There we go.
Azcat Sue, Simply Shenanigans, Shanna, Diane Matthews, Mr. Blood, Sweat, and Cell, Trash Cat Rescue. And there is a few more that aren't on the banner. I don't know why, but I'll fix that in post. We're 54 minutes and 37 seconds, so we'll get that taken care of. So we can just hang out.
What happened is I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that what happened was
save it. Didn't save it.
Oh, you didn't save it? Okay, because sometimes you have to change the character limit. And maybe that's what happened when you copied and pasted it. It wasn't on the character.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh wow, that was super fast. I was like, she just came out of nowhere.
It looked like you came out from under the table.
Yeah.
I did. I was putting it in under the table. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna try to lift up my laptop too. Okay. Let me try to put. This is what we do, right? We just find what's around us and make things work.
Right, that's the reseller way.
Look
at Leroy.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, so we were talking about YouTube, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought that people might be interested in a different perspective. And then I teach choir. So I did do a lot of recording type stuff for work. And then also just for myself as a singer and stuff, like I would use GarageBand and I would make recordings. And I feel like learning how to edit that way really actually helped out with YouTube too when it came to editing, as far as just the technical side of things. And then it was just kind of like finding ways to be creative and finding fun ways to tell stories about garbage that I found at thrift stores and stuff like that. But yeah, I think like my growth on YouTube has never been astronomical. Like Josh from Harry Tornado and I started around the same time, like
right.
We're kind of like YouTube buddies, and we would like, encourage one another. And we were like, you're going to get there. Like, we're going to like, blah, blah, blah. And then he just like blew up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how come I'm still just like way down here? But I think it's been very like slow and steady. Because that's just kind of how my reselling journey has been too. It's just kind of been like, I do what I can when I can. And I think my YouTube channel has kind of echoed that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to share about it. But
so Whatnot, where are you at with Whatnot? Because Whatnot is super competitive in that women's sort of market. I know that you have done a few or one. How many have you done so far, and what was your experience like with that?
I think I've done like 5 or 6 shows on Whatnot. And it was kind of earlier on. It was like maybe last summer or something. No, maybe I don't remember. But I think that like I liked it and I enjoyed the live aspect of it. I enjoyed interacting with people. I did not like how much time it took up, especially time in front of a camera talking to people. And I say that from the perspective of, you know, being a teacher and being a mom to 2 young kids and just feeling like I don't have enough time with them to begin with. Like most of my YouTube stuff and even reselling stuff, like I try to do after they go to sleep. But Whatnot is difficult to do. I mean, you can do it whenever, but there's not as many people on like in the middle of the night, you know? So it's like you're trying to hit people at prime selling times, but that was conflicting a lot with like prime hanging out with the kids and family time, you know? And so for me, it just felt like the payoff wasn't worth it. And like you said, it's pretty competitive. There are some women's sellers on Whatnot who are getting close to eBay, if not more than eBay value. And I just was not one of those people, primarily because that's not the stuff that I was bringing to Whatnot. I was like too scared to bring like stuff that, you know, could sell for $100, but might sell for $8, you know? So I was just like, this just doesn't work for me at this moment. And so I do want to like get back into live selling a little bit, maybe just like 1 show a week, if that even, but it would be after the kids go down. I would like hard cap it at an hour, because I think the issue too is like you get through everything and then everyone just wants to hang out and you're just hanging out and you're like, oh my God, like my whole night is gone, you know? And so, yeah.
So now you are getting ready to do your first Poshmark live show. Are you excited about that? When is it? Hopefully it is after this video comes out, so we can help promote it. If it is, we'll obviously put that information in the description video below. I think I'm the only one on here that's done a Poshmark live. Am I, Leroy? You haven't done one, right? Okay. Just wanted to
you don't want to sell tools on Poshmark Live? What if you make a killing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're getting close to Leroy selling tools on Whatnot. It's in the possible future. It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I did it the one time with my wife, Josie, and I. I don't know if you've ever seen my wife or not before, but yeah, we did it together. It was an experience, and this was probably 6 to 8 months ago, maybe. When I did it. So I was telling her, Becky, before we went live, that I was gonna be curious to see what that back end of that is like now with the shipping and everything. I know Lisette's been doing some Poshmark lives lately too. So are you excited about that? When is it? And do you have a game plan?
So I'm not really excited about it, just because I feel like I'm not excited about most things that are like new to me, because I'm just more nervous than excited. It's like I don't have the space or the capacity to be excited yet. But I just kind of want to see what it's about and see what the vibe is over there. I feel like I understand Whatnot. Before I started selling on Whatnot, I was just like hopping into as many shows as possible to like learn it. Yeah, you know, I just wanted to like figure it out. I hopped into some Poshmark shows and I was like, what is going on? Like I could not really get a grasp on
because they're doing I see a lot of silent shows on there now.
So I don't get it. And then also they have this thing where like people can have a show and sell other people's stuff. So you like send them items in a bundle and they put it in their tray. And I was like, what is this vocabulary? Like, and I was like, and what do you get as the seller for selling someone else's stuff? Like, do you get a cut? Like, I don't know. I was just very confused. Like, I just didn't know what was going on. So I feel like before I go live, I need to just like hop into some more because I don't feel prepared at all. And I think that's why I'm not excited. Like, it's hard for me to feel excited when I feel so ill prepared. But my first one is going to be this Thursday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And like, nobody needs to be there. Like, if anything, if there's only like 4 people, that's probably better so that I can like suck and it's okay. Like, I got it out of my system and like, you know, figure out how to do all the things. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's all kind of like fall stuff, like sweaters, jackets, boots, that sort of thing. Just going to give it a go and see what happens.
So Poshmark to eBay. Is everything that you sell on both platforms? So you have everything is all on both. And
the only thing that wouldn't be on Poshmark is stuff that they don't allow that eBay does, which Poshmark has really grown, you know, the categories that you're able to sell in. But I would say 99% of stuff is on.
And so what do you think is tough? Because I don't want to just be so bland and say which one do you sell the most on, but like is there more consistency on one? Do you find one easier to deal with on the back end as far as, from the actual like list standpoint versus the other one? Are you using a cross listing service, those sort of things? Like, what is that workflow simplified for the average mind that might be watching?
So I do use a cross listing software. I use List Perfectly. So I put everything on List Perfectly first because it kind of, I think, is closest to eBay in like the different item specifics that you can put in it. So I'll put as many of the item specifics as I can into List Perfectly. And then from there, I'll spit out to Poshmark, eBay, Mercari. I have my own website that I put some stuff on. That's like my only kind of curated space is my own website. I used to do Kitizen and Facebook Marketplace. I stopped listening to those maybe like last week because I just felt like it, even though it's so quick to list, especially to Kitizen, I was like, it's just not really worth the time and energy given how little they give back to me. And so, I will spit everything out to those places from List Perfectly. And listing on Poshmark is just so simple. I think it probably takes me like 10 seconds from the time that I get things pushed out from List Perfectly because most of the information is there already. It's you just click a couple buttons and you're done. eBay is always the longest, and Mercari has gotten annoying. They've added some more item specific.
Yeah, they added more hashtags.
More hashtags, more things that I'm like
more than 3 hashtags.
Yeah, it's like five now. And I'll tell you, the Mercari is absolutely drunk when it comes to cross listing and the colors.
Yes.
Like I will have literally like a yellow hat and it'll be like purple. And I'm like, what? Like where are you getting purple from?
And also, and I don't think this is just a cross listing thing because they posted about it on my Instagram thinking that it was like kind of a glitch going from List Perfectly to Mercari. But even people who are like, I do not use a cross listing software. I just list natively to Mercari and this happens to me. But what I find will happen sometimes is my listing title will go in and then they'll change it to something so random. And I found that out when someone liked a black thong on Mercari and I was like, I do not have any black thongs for sale. Like I was so confused. I went to check it and I'm like, what? And it was like a swimsuit, like a one-piece swimsuit. But somehow Mercari had changed the title way back when I had listed it. And I was like, well, no wonder this is not selling. Like, who wants to buy a thong on Mercari? I was just, so they'll do that. And I'll notice that sometimes when I am cross-listing, like my listing title will be there for a second and then it'll change to like t-shirt. And I'm like, listen.
Yeah, you have to, because I use List Perfectly too. So I will tell you that I noticed that before. So you have to like be a tad bit patient so that, because it's almost like, how like it when you go to eBay, like it will kind of like go through, like it'll take like the title and stuff like that and they'll put it in like a category, the section, right? For Mercari, it will do that and it kind of like is generating itself before your information from List Perfectly actually kicks in. So if you like press something on Mercari before the information processes, it'll stop on what it was like generating through its system before everything gets through from List Perfectly. At least that's what I kind of figured out the back. So
so that's super annoying.
Also, if you're gonna run Whatnot, Whatnot will now you can import
wow.
Everything from Poshmark you can cross list into Whatnot, not just on the Whatnot marketplace, and which you can also then translate to your auction shows. So
that's pretty huge.
That'll help you a lot, like if you have your inventory, like
because then that'll save you so much time, I'd imagine. Especially if it's easier for you to list on Poshmark, then you could just throw it on Poshmark and then just bring it over. And if it doesn't sell on Whatnot, it's already listed on Poshmark now. So it kind of works out.
That's pretty huge because I did try on Whatnot once because they said like you can import an Excel sheet, instead of one by one. But like I tried and I was at it for like 2 hours, like just trying to figure out like what's wrong. I think I talked to someone at Whatnot and they're like, I don't know. Like, they're like, everything looks right. Like, I don't know. Like they had like and this was a while ago, so they may have changed things, but they had like a template and I downloaded that template. I added my stuff in there and I was like, why isn't this importing into Whatnot? And I think that was the last time I was like going to do a show and I was like, forget it. Like this is really
that is the one thing that is I've always spoken highly. So Cernoch and myself, we've been on for over 2 years now, Whatnot, and Eric's not far behind us. So like the one thing about Whatnot is they are constantly trying to evolve and trying to, you know, they listen to what people are saying and they try to do it as best as they can. Obviously, you're not going to be able to please everyone because, you know, people want like life to be magic, you know, but like it's not going to be like that. So, but I do think that it's fascinating to think about where Whatnot is now and where it was when we first started. When we first started, we were in the vintage clothing category, and you could do a show and there would be nobody else would be live at that time in that category. And people would kind of be like, okay, I see this guy's going on at 7. I'm gonna make my show at 8. Now it's like 75 people selling Holy Grail vintage t-shirts at like any given point of the day and night. Yeah. So it is interesting, and I don't know. I like to ask people because, you know, especially when we're doing these interviews, just because a lot of times you can kind of see just how you interact. Obviously, I know how to interact based upon watching you for so long channel, but you know, you have like a natural, I could probably sell water to a well sort of situation on you know, live stream. I'm always curious to see what people's reactions are to this new way of selling as far as live and whatnot.
Yeah, I do think that's why too, though. Like live selling is kind of difficult for me. I feel like the people who I've watched who are very successful are either the type that are like, this is the next amazing thing, blah, blah, and, you know, they're so like, they have so much energy and stuff. And I'm just very like mild and chill, like, hey guys. And then I also like hate to be that person that's like, guys, we have to bid this up. Like this cannot sell. Like, I'm just like, that's fine. Like if no one wants to, but that's cool. Like I just like
you should totally take this part and turn it into a reel or a short.
My
Becky
biggest
Park
pet
does
peeve is
Whatnot impersonations.
Isn't that what it is though? It's like,
all right, it's this. Like they've got all their stuff here. Anybody just let me know if there's something you see. Like you got like, they drive me bananas with that stuff. Run something.
Yes. So it's like, I know the basic rules, but when it comes to like trying to push people to like bid against each other, I just like can't. Like I'm like, you got like mouths to feed at home though. Like don't buy my, you know, like, I don't know. It's just like that part is kind of hard for me. And I think you have to have kind of that like salesman-y type. I don't know. And that's the piece too that I'm a little uncomfortable with. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So while I'm hoping Cernoch is getting us prepped to go view the basement.
Are you moving to the basement?
I'm so excited.
And then so while he does that, like, is there anything that's in the pipeline, something that you're working on? So anything that you want to plug to you know, people? And after that or before that, anything else that you kind of like just want to throw out there to like something of value, something that you think is like, if like, when we kind of talked about this a little bit in the beginning, like, you know, what would you change when you go back? But like one like thing that you're just like, you tell anybody who talks to you about reselling now, where you're just like, this is like the verse, this is the Bible here, you know, like, because there's tons of stuff obviously that, you know, we can kind of tell people, but like what you do, I thought it was super fascinating, your answer about starting YouTube, but like what you do is not easy. I mean, I see what you have behind you right now. You know, so like I understand. But like, you know, you're doing eBay, you're doing Poshmark, you know, you have 2 kids, you know, you got your high school choir teacher. I mean, you have the YouTube channel. Like you're on Tim's page right here where it's just like I'm juggling about 25 different things, and I'm not really doing good at any of them, but you seem to be doing good at pretty much all of it. So like it's how do you do that?
I mean, honestly, when I get that question of like, how do you do it all? My first response always is you just have to be okay with being mediocre at everything. Like that really is like the honest to God gospel truth. I kind of think about like when I wanted to take singing more seriously in high school, and it was kind of said to me, okay, so what do you want to do? You want to sing opera? You want to do musical theater? You want to do pop? You got to either pick a lane and be really good at it, or you're going to be mediocre at everything. And I said, I'll be mediocre at everything because I don't want to just sing one type of music. And I think it's kind of the same way, like I could be like super teacher and just be at school like all hours of the day and pour like my whole entire life into these lesson plans and whatever. But I'm like, I'm doing like enough. Like I'm doing pretty good for these kids. Like, and I think that's good enough, you know. And then like same with like reselling, like I could pour my heart and soul into it and like invest every breath that I have into it and make a ton of money. But I'm like, I think I'm doing enough. Like this is fine. And I have no vision right now of like scaling anything to a huge degree because that's just not what I want to do with my life. Like I don't need that to be on my tombstone, like world's smallest but mightiest reseller. Like it doesn't, you know, I'm like, it's cool. Like I'm good with what I have now and the ways that I'm able to provide for my family. But I'd say aside from that, I think that I think the older that I get, I've gotten much better about learning how to protect my space. I do it in my classroom by like, you know, figuring out which kids aren't really there to sing. They're just there to like hang out. And I'm like, you got to go. Like, you got to find somewhere else to be because we make music here. And in the same way with like reselling and even just social media in general, like protecting my space and my like mental energy regarding who I spend time with and who I let kind of speak into my life, you know? I used to kind of like want to please everyone and be everyone's friend. And I'm like, but some people don't deserve that, you know, like given the kind of toxicity that they put into the world and into the community, I'm like, I don't like
preach it.
Yeah.
Preach
So
it.
I think that's really
I was
important.
looking for a hanky right now.
Yeah, but so that's what I've been learning and kind of focusing on as I get older.
So
But, oh my gosh.
Before Cernoch shows you, the one question is when's the album dropping?
When's the album drop? Like nobody wants to hear an album from me. like I said, mediocre at all.
When is the Becky Park mixtape dropping? That's what everybody wants to know.
I think like one every 50 videos, I'll like sing a little something. And people are like, you should do more. And I'm like, okay, but like for real.
Hey, do you know Regina Michelle? You know that?
So
you gotta check her out. You guys should deal with something. She could.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna look her up.
All right, Cernoch, you ready for the tour, Becky?
Right.
I think I'm gonna disappoint her though. She's got a lot of clothes. So,
But
she's got a lot of clothes.
all right, so here's like my kind of just like crappy area with like stuff everywhere, hats displayed. I'm at the back of my basement or like, but like
those are all Grail hats behind him. Just so
you can
you know,
see like just